What is up YouTube, and welcome to this The Boys video. So in yesterday's video I mentioned I couldn't fit in the love sausage. Wait, hold on. Let me start again. So in yesterday's video I mentioned we could be discussing the love sausage today. He's the man that Cardi B and Megan Thee Stallion were rapping about in WAP, or should that be whapping? Wow, this intro sucks, but let's soldier on. We got a brief glimpse of a fan favourite character from The Boys, and that was the love sausage. He was in the Sage Grove facility when the crew went to go and get all the information they could about Stormfront's weird psychiatric hospital, and he escaped his cell after Cindy initiated a prison riot. We saw him briefly when Mother's Milk said he had the love sausage, and then appeared later in the episode when he strangled Mother's Milk by the love sausage that can stretch and take on a life of its own. He did appear to be knocked out, and I would hate for a character like this, who is such a great part of the original source material, to be utilised just as a small dick joke for just one part of an episode. Considering that the characters of this facility seem to have lives outside the facility, I think that the character may have potential to have some more kind of story there, and I'll discuss that later in the episode. So what was his original origin from the comics? So his real name is Vasili Vorishikin, and is an ex-cop, a tank commander, and an ex-superhero. He owns a bar in Moscow and makes his own moonshine vodka, which we see Hughie hilariously drink in the comic, and was also used to save Billy the Butcher's life from poisoned borscht. He used to be part of a Soviet Union team known as the Glorious 5-Year Plan, the name itself being a reference to the 5-year plans of Soviet communist nations. His teammates were the Tractor, Purge, Red Banner, and Collectivo, which are all again references to the Soviet Revolution and the Great Purge conducted by Stalin of the Communist Party, and really anyone who disagreed with his plans. Vas is one of the only supes who's actually on good terms with the boys, and has seemingly known him for years before the events of the comics. I think the difference here is because that he wasn't actually backed by a corporation, and Billy seems to absolutely hate anyone who was backed by corporations, and Vas is the same. He dislikes the Vought superheroes. The boys meet up with him to investigate mysterious soups exploding in Russia as part of a character named Nina Dominko's plan, who was working with Vought to create soups, but her version of the Compound V kept making the subjects' heads explode. LS helps the boys work out how to take down the miniature vibrator obsessive, and hilariously keeps cooking for them, and to be honest, he just seems like a total G. Vought have engineered it so that they can make soups in Russia and control them by making their heads explode. Something we saw in the first episodes of this season, with the director of the CIA falling foul of this. And I'm not too sure if that's why her head exploded. I'm just making the connection there, and take with that what you will. They capture a member of Nina Domenko's mob who speaks, and throughout this arc in the comics, we learn that Vought are helping her to rain terror down on Russia by using the soups to cause chaos and explode their heads remotely to put her into a position of power. She's a Russian organised crime member who poor Love Sausage laments as he wants to go back to the old ways of communism and the true ideology of communism, of all working together. And this is the opposite of what Nina wants. She just wants the power to, get money and have power for power's sake. Now, Vas and Hughie assault the base of the mobsters and learn that Nina is going to escape the country now that she's been made, and Billy comes up with the inventive idea of planting a bomb in Nina's vibrator, which she is obsessed with. It explodes as she uses the, robo-sausage, and later on in the story, he actually helps the boys take out Stormfront as the Nazi gets his head kicked in. This makes sense, as the Soviets and Nazis were bitter enemies despite an earlier respite at the start of World War II. He meets his demise at the hands of the Butcher, but I won't go too much into that story yet, as I don't want it to be spoilt for you if you've only watched the show. And it is a big storyline, and it all involves compound V and things like that, which I don't think they're going to go next. So what powers does our LS have? Well, he's super strong and, well, super powerful. It took a few rounds of a modified RPG to take him down. His penis is also incredibly large. That just cracked me up saying that. And it can extend, but his one weakness is voluptuous breasts. As he said, he can operate with an erection because, obvious reasons, I imagine, he would go instantly pale because, well, you need a lot of power for that big thing between his legs there. So where would he go next? Well, he was knocked out by the female Kimiko and now has an imprint of a knuckle duster in his head, and this was an homage to the comics where she removed 2 of his fingers for touching her, which he later respected her for. He will most likely learn about Sage Grove and its inmates. I'd love it if he was simply shuttered in there for going against Vought Soups, as he is in the comics. He hates corporate-backed soups, with Billy recognising him. He's far too big, no pun intended, of a character to leave out of the show, considering he was involved with unravelling Billy the Butcher's endgame plan with modified Compound V. Sage Grove could be the smoking gun instead of weaponised Compound V, as we've already had a Compound V scandal. I'd like it if Stormfront captured him, and this is some sort of Belle Reve as they inject the inmates with more and more Compound V. And I think that we may see more soups escape from this section. And Definition of Heavy Spoilers did point out that one of the inmates did look like Jack from Jupiter, who was a member of the Seven in the comics. So shout out to him for that great spot. Cindy will be involved with this, as maybe this is all just wishful thinking for myself, but there is room for more comic characters to appear out of this and not have it be like the X-Men movies where random mutants appear and you have to guess just which comic book character they are as they mutate in the background. We're like, hey, is that Psylocke? That's Jubilee. Yeah, I just don't want that to happen, and I hope that we have more teams as well, as we are getting a spin-off. So I did do a video on the spin-off and the next episode on my channel yesterday, so if you haven't seen that, go and check that out. But that's it for this video, so please do drop a like down below, and please do subscribe with notifications on, and I'll see you soon, and goodbye.